We use it for TURPs, for transurethral resection of the prostate, and BTs, bladder tumors. This generator will also be able to do monopolar resection as well as use also use it for a bug beat. So with this, you can start by pushing this button to turn it on. This top right section, you're going to see select procedure. So regardless of what we're going to do, we're going to start and hit select procedure. And we've currently got the 4 procedures listed. We've got bug beat, monopolar, TURBT, and TURP. So for conversation's sake, we'll just say we're going to start with a TURP. You touch it. You'll see there's 4 different quadrants here, and there's 4 different quadrants here. The numbers kind of correspond with the quadrant or the socket we're going to use. So you can see this is the lower left. We're going to use the lower left socket. So when we're doing bipolar is going to use the electrodes with the disposable cord. This is going to come, it's got the little oval socket. This is going to be used for your TURPs and your TURBTs. Select the quadrant. This will plug into the lower left. At this point, you shouldn't need to make any adjustments, but if you need to, they can go up or down as need be for the different settings. For conversation's sake, we are doing a TURBT, same thing. We touched it. Again, it's in the lower white quadrant. We touched, and we're going to plug in there. When we do bipolar, we're always going to hang saline solution. That being said, if the patient has a full bladder, or if we had started with a monopolar and had saline or glycine, we got to make sure that they flush that through and get saline in the bladder, or this electrode will not ignite. Things to know: we want warm solution, not cold, and saline for the bipolar. Also with this, we can do monopolar. Again, we're going to start here, select procedure. You'll see monopolar is listed. It's in the top right quadrant, which is here. Your monopolar cable is actually a reusable cable. If you look at the end of this, there's only one connection, monopolar, as opposed to the 2 connections on this one, bipolar. Another difference with this is the working element. This is the monopolar working element. You'll see it only has 1 pole to plug the cord in. The bipolar working element looks almost identical, except it has another post on it. That's how you'll know the difference. So you want to make sure that you're using a monopolar working element with a monopolar electrodes. Also, with the electrodes, the monopolar electrodes don't have a cord because we use a reusable cord. So this is a way to tell the difference. If there's no cord with it, it's going to be monopolar. If its cord is with it, it's going to be bipolar. Again, same sort of thing. This is the top right. We select that quadrant. This cord would plug in there. When we're using monopolar, we're either using water or glycine. The other thing with monopolar is we're going to have to use a patient pad. Plug the patient pad in here. This would go from red to green, and you're good to go. One other thing we can do here would be a bug beat. Bug beat electrode you're currently using the other generator, we can actually use this. You'll see, again, it's in the top right quadrant. You'll see it only has coag and not cut, but the plug looks very similar. Again, we plug in here, patient pad, red to green, touch the quadrant, and we're good to go. With any of these settings, you can go up or down on the screen as need be. And if you ever kind of get lost where I am, you can always go back to select procedure and go from there. Questions about this? Concerns?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So you can't use the tourist element just
They're
as
different electrodes.
No, just as the monopolar thing in your hand.
I'm sorry, just like this?
Yeah, but the tourist one, the working element that you use for tourists.
Okay. And the question is?
You can't use that just with that monopolar cord.
No, because it's got 2 poles. So bipolar, 2 poles, monopolar, 1 pole. And it's the way we transfer energy. So when we're transferring energy with monopolar, we're sending the energy through this electrode, and it's actually going through the patient and coming back through the patient pad. With bipolar, the energy is going through and coming back out the same thing.
But you can connect that cord you got in your hand on that tourist receptacle, right?
Correct. So the only
you can't
thing
use it.
It won't work.
it won't work. So the only difference
Okay.
between the receptacoscope is the working element, whether
Okay.
it's the tourist, which is the bipolar, 2 poles, or the monopolar. Everything else of the receptacoscope is the same.
Okay, I just wanted to know if we buy 2 different.
Nope, just different working element.
You see what I'm saying?
I'm sorry?
You see what I'm saying?
About the different,
Working elements.
right, so you have different working elements, same sheath,
Yeah.
scopes
I
and
know
all that.
Yeah, I know all that. I was just gonna make sure you couldn't use that tourist resetting scope as that right there.
No,
Okay.
no,
Cause you gotta have both of those ends plugged
Correct,
in,
correct.
or it won't work.
correct,
Okay.
yep.
So the monopolar element in the cord that he's holding up is actually identified with a star sticker in the Turris sets right now. So there shouldn't be any confusions of which one is a monopolar versus a bipolar element in the actual Turris set. They are identified with stickers, sticker like to like. Also keep in mind that we still do have the old Northfield TUR sets that some of the surgeons have not switched over. So if you are using that, you're using the old TUR electrodes that are actually ACMI, not Olympus. And they're all labeled in Cysto. It'll say old TUR elements versus the new monopolar. They look very similar, they're just different manufacturers, so you have to be careful of that.
Another thing is, if for whatever reason you start off with saline solution, and the doctor decided to do resection and they went to monopolar, again, we want to make sure that the bladder is flushed. If we had a bladder full of saline and switched over to monopolar without flushing the bladder and getting water or glycine there, the monopolar won't work. With either one, we want to get in that, and the doctor should know that, but if you get in that situation, that is a possibility that the electrode will not ignite. And they can get impatient and they say, well, it's hanging, saline's hanging, why is it not working? We need you to flush the bladder, refill it, and let's go from there, and it should. Other questions? Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.